and welcome to Abstract Essay, where we featuring talented people like my guest today. He is a health coach, no other than Mr. Anthony Guastella.
Hey Daniel, thanks for having me, man.
Welcome, Mr. Anthony, and can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Absolutely. So, as you said, I'm a health coach, but it was a long journey to get there, man. I had a Lyme disease diagnosis that lasted for 6 years. And within that process, I was experiencing every symptom you can imagine through thyroid issues, joint pain, fibromyalgia. And I was just a kid at the time. I was 16 years old. So, as you can imagine, this can be quite a difficult situation because, I had the world at my fingertips essentially, and that was seemingly stripped away from me. But I was left with two decisions, man. I can either be a victim or a victor. And being a victim would have led to me being listening to the outside forces that said I can't get well, even though they're well meaning, but they don't walk in my shoes. They're not suffering like I am. Or I can be a victor, right? I can listen to my heart and my essence and know that this too shall pass. And not only am I going to overcome this, I'm going to become someone in that process. And through becoming the person I have, learning all the tools of wellness, personal development, mindset, and being on the other side, I'm just on fire to help as many people as I possibly can take control of their health and live the life of their dreams.
Well, Mr. Anthony, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. So today let's talk about mindset. So tell us, how do you define mindset and why is it more powerful than circumstances or talent?
Yeah, it's a great question. I always like to say the mindset is the foundation. The mindset is the foundation of our reality because it really dictates our decisions, right? Our beliefs, our values, our standards, all these make up our mindset. And we go throughout life either in an empowering state or disempowering state. And the reality is our thoughts lead to things which lead to actions, right? So basically, a mindset is very important to develop throughout our life.
Mm. Mr. Anthony, what is the biggest misconception people have about changing their mindset?
I believe, from my observation, they have a fixed mindset, meaning that they have these beliefs that we carry around that perhaps are not even ours, right? And they may be from childhood, maybe from disempowering circumstances. We carry on a trauma in our lives, and we walk around this thing that I'm not enough, right? We have this state in our mind that we're not enough, and we have that belief. We're not going to operate out of excellence like we're meant for. So we have to see ourselves in a different light. And if people are in a dark place, if we're just starting, the awareness is the first step. Like, know where you are and just have hope and a possibility that things can get better. Have a North Star, know where you want to go. Because without a direction, you're not going anywhere.
Yes, definitely. And how does neuroscience support the idea that mindset can be rewired?
Yeah, so many people are familiar with neuroplasticity now, which is essentially the rewiring of the brain. Now, there are two areas of the brain, like the hippocampus and the olfactory bulb, that can actually develop new neurons, right? So we used to believe that there are a certain number of neurons, there's no more. But there are two areas of the brain, like I just mentioned, which is the memory center and the smell center, that can actually develop new neurons. But beyond that, there's something called synaptogenesis, which is the creation of new synapses or learning centers throughout the brain. And many people know this. Like, you can learn things throughout life. That should be obvious, right? It's a growth mindset. Even though there's some evidence to say it may be harder as you get older, but there's so many different methods to learn and get better. And just having that growth mindset is key.
Mindset for sure is the key. And let's talk about the fixed versus growth mindset. What are the key differences between fixed and growth mindset in our daily life?
Absolutely. So when you find someone with a fixed mindset, they're going to carry certain character traits, right? And we basically live the same life over and over again. We don't really see much progress. We are given this set of rules in our life, and we just kind of live that out. We don't really understand there's another way, right? So we just kind of we don't see much growth in that person's life. The growth mindset, on the other hand, they are always looking to get better and change, and they always looking for self discovery. Self discovery is about purpose, values, standards, all these things that kind of develop who we are. And from that place, we can develop a foundation of our life. We can grow and serve and be the light and model for what is possible. Because when you have a purpose and a North Star, you understand that it's not just about you. You have to understand that people are counting on you. And the more that you cultivate these character traits within yourself, like having high standards, operating out of excellence, working on your all areas of life, like health, wealth, relationships, and really cultivating this high level of character in your life. That's where it all begins, man.
Yes, for sure. And how can someone identify if they're stuck in a fixed mindset? And what is the first step to shift it?
Yeah. So the first step, if people want to change, unfortunately, what I see is most of us we have to get in this really dark place. Like we have to have a rock bottom for a real change, and I don't believe it has to be like that. So if people are living this mediocre state, I think it's important to start to ask themselves some questions. Like, is this all that is for me? Is there a certain area of my life that I can improve? Is there a certain area of my life that I can get better at? Right. And like I said,
Yes,
awareness is the first step to change. So as soon as that we start to develop this awareness, we can cultivate growth in our lives and cultivate new values. And that's where I believe it all starts.
awareness indeed. And Mr. Anthony, can you share an example of how growth mindset turned failure into a breakthrough?
Absolutely, man. So in my life personally, I've overcome so many challenges as we all have, right? We all overcome things in our life. And we can either go through it or grow through it. And a personal example for me, like I mentioned with my health, there were so many times I wanted to give up, man. Like sometimes I sit and think now, man, I see why people don't do this. I see why people stay average, but I don't get it because I know the alternative. You're meant for greatness at the end of the day. And when I just sit and think right now, like being in that state of pain and agony and all that, like I cultivated that purpose within first. So I knew that this too shall pass and I'm going to get to the other side of this. So I saw pain as purpose, right? So you have to see your situation differently. And once you start to see it differently, you're going to start taking different actions because now you know that this is temporary. So it acts as a motivation. So being in that state, as I mentioned, I just started to ask certain empowering questions. There were certain questions on my mind that were disempowering, that were keeping me stuck. So I had to identify those and keep a North Star in mind. When you have that North Star in mind, you understand that there's always a way forward. Don't change the goal, change the approach. All right. Because I'm a big fan of Stoic philosophy. And now this is really about accepting the things that you cannot change, but focusing your energy towards your actions. So basically, just learning the path, and it's a long path sometimes. You gotta take one step forward, two steps back sometimes. But as long as you keep making progress and know that you just don't give up, there's always another way.
How do resilient people reframe setbacks using their mindset?
So, what I define resilience as is the ability to bounce back quickly, right? Because we're all going to have things happen in our lives. But the question is, how fast are we going to bounce back? That resilient factor. And I also believe it kind of goes beyond the mind in a sense because everything is connected. So, if you don't have a strong mind, but your body's weak, things are going to be more difficult for you. So, I recommend developing everything, right? So, strengthening the nervous system through working out, cold therapy, saunas, all these things are going to help you bounce back faster. But as you mentioned with the mindset, being resilient is going to entail not giving up. Now, most people we know that, but we give up too soon in a sense. Now, there is a time I believe to reassess your goals, like if it's no longer in alignment with you and if it's no longer makes sense to keep going. But we have to be honest with ourselves, man. Awareness is the first step in being honest with yourself if it's worthy of keeping going or not.
Mr. Anthony, what is your advice for someone who says, I'm just not a positive person?
Yeah, it goes back to what you were saying, man. It's a fixed mindset, right? Because it's how they've always been. So they operate off this paradigm and they think that's the way things are. And I get that, man, because it can be hard. Like if we've been doing that for years or decades, it can be very difficult to kind of get out of that in a sense. And it's not impossible, but I would find a mentor, like someone who has been where you want to be and has walked the path you want to walk because they can act as a guiding light for you. Like a coach, as a health coach, I don't have all the answers, but I help people guide them to their own, right? Because I've walked the path myself. So I can do that for people. And the thing is, once we do that, we can be that for other people as well. Whether it doesn't, you don't have to be a coach, but just being solid within yourself, having this personal agency, and developing this growth mindset and being service oriented. I believe that's a powerful tenet as well.
How can leaders cultivate a team mindset that embraces challenges, Mr. Anthony?
Yeah, a leader has to walk the path. Like you cannot be a leader and not practice what you preach. You have to be the model and living representation of what you talk about. Because there's a saying out there, do as I say, not as I do. I think that's ridiculous because people watch you, they watch your actions. Like if you don't practice what you preach, then why are you preaching it? Like, do you really believe this? So that's the number one thing. And also know your people, know their strengths, their weaknesses, and understand that you cannot talk to everyone the same way because going to respond differently. And that's going to first entail you overcome yourself. You must overcome yourself and your limiting beliefs at the end of the day. Because a lot of leaders we push people in certain ways and understand that we don't have the awareness to cultivate the team mindset because we're not on board with ourselves in a sense. So developing this growth in ourselves is the first step. That's what I believe.
Mhm. Let's talk about self talk and belief, Mr. Anthony. What role does self talk play in shaping mindset, and how can we make it more empowering?
Self-talk is very important. As I mentioned, there's so many thoughts, beliefs that we carry around. And what I find for me, Daniel, is what really helps me is developing silence. Like we can do it through meditation, just there's so many distractions, but I find that if we're able to just cut out the noise, the negativity doesn't really stay around as much because like in our world, we just focus so much on the mindset. That's all we do. And we're talking about that here, obviously, but there's certain strategies like we just kind of power our way through the mind. But we don't do these certain practice through our day and make it easier. We want to stack the deck in our favor because the world, like, I mean, there's so many great inventions, so many things like that, but we have to keep in mind that so many things pull away from our attention and our personal agency. Like personal agency to me, man, that's about having control of your mind, body, and spirit, right? Knowing that power is within you and your inner world will create your outer world, meaning that your thoughts, your beliefs, your values, all these things are going to cultivate the actions that you take. And of course, the outer world is going to influence you, but once you have the agency, it's not going to control you.
How do you help someone uncover and change limiting belief they don't even realize they have?
Yeah. So evaluate your life and see what is working and what isn't. If you have areas of your life that are not working, assess your beliefs. Like if you are terrible at wealth, do you have any limiting beliefs around there? Do you believe that money is evil? Do you believe that you're just broke? Your family's broke. That's your lot in life. If so, that is going to be a huge obstacle in your way, and it's probably going to be impossible, definitely impossible to sustain it. So evaluate if things are not working, and then shift your beliefs to more empowering beliefs. And how you do that essentially is link that belief, say, say wealth, say that more money I make is going to be linked to the amount of people that I help, right? So that can be much more empowering than say, money is evil, for example. And that new empowering belief can lead you to a brighter future. So you want to hold on to that brighter future and understand that these old ways, they may have served you in the past, but essentially we want to understand that there's a better way and just keep moving forward every single day.
Keep forward, people, and let it go. And
100%.
what is the connection between mindset and imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome, man, like that's a big thing for a lot of people. And to be honest with you, I don't think it has to happen. Like, there's a lot of things that, like, because we have experts in our field, but are we experts in our life? That's where I think it comes from, to be honest with you. Because you may be great in your field, but how's your self confidence? How's your relationship with yourself, with other people, your health, right? And as I mentioned, mindset and character is the foundation. So having this relationship with yourself to know that you're worthy of success. Now, of course, you may have doubts and things like that, but if you carry around this thing like, hey, I mean, people are going to find out. I don't know. It's hard for me to comprehend that because I've just being through my own health story. Like, to be honest with you, I know that I have what it takes. I know that I have a lot of value to add. And that came personally just through going through so many hard things and knowing that there's another way. But if you want to reframe that within yourself, I would just again the power of self-assessment. Like, if is there anything that you're doing and you have any bad habits? Do you have anything that you're not that you're doing that is detracting from your confidence? And just take the first steps to go on there. Because there's another saying that everyone has their vices. I don't think that's true. You may have vices, but you can overcome them because these are. If you look at the word vice, it's Latin for separation. I look at that separation of your purpose. So I would do everything you can to and not blame yourself, have compassion, but understand that you can actually move forward if you desire.
Habits and environment. What is the daily habits most influence a strong mindset?
For mindset, man, it really starts with silence or just giving yourself the space to think because we're just constantly in this go, go, go mode and we don't ever give ourselves permission or an opportunity to digest any information. So you're carrying around these thoughts and beliefs that if you actually did some self assessment, you would understand that they're absolutely ridiculous. Like, all these things that I'm not enough, whatever something may be going on in the world. Like, if you just give yourself some assessment, some time to think, because if you look at history, all the great people who've done things, they were all thinkers. And ask yourself, are you really thinking for yourself? Because school teaches you what to think, not how to think. Even though, I mean, I'm not going to really get into that, but essentially learning how to think for yourself, critical thinking, and really knowing that there's always a path forward and the power of self assessment. Like, if something was a challenge throughout your day, ask how you responded in it. Did I respond in a favorable way? If not, what can I do better next time? Right. And do it with compassion, you know, because you don't want to blame yourself and beat yourself up because that's going to be a hindrance to your growth and development in of itself. So you can do some journaling, just really just get to a place of stillness as much as you can, because from a place of stillness, that's where we can actually create a foundation for the life that we actually want.
Stillness is the key, as they said.
That's right.
How does your environment silently shape our mindset?
Yeah. So there's two types of environments: your inner environment and your outer environment. One you control, one you can't. Now, your inner environment, that's the thing you need to focus on the most, like your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, and all these things, and also your health. Your health. I mean, I can't tell you how much like I just don't care about my problems after 30 minutes in the sunlight. Like, it's if you just actually take care of your health, like you carry around this higher vibration in a sense where you actually can process your problems much easier and much faster. So that's your inner environment. Your outer environment, This obviously can be people around you, your circumstances, your job, things you can't control, but you have influence over. That's the key. And the more agency you have over yourself, the more positive influence you can have over your environment. Because the thing is that it's not that we're just experiencing life, life is experiencing us. And what I mean by that is that we're not just products of our environment, we're creators of the environment. We influence people around us. We can be the light in the room instead of like, engaging in gossip. We can perhaps change the conversation. Just do whatever you can to kind of ask more empowering questions and be a light wherever it is that you go.
How does our environment, or what's one small change someone can make today to start strengthening their mindset?
So environment, I'm gonna go with clutter, man. Because the more we have distractions in our environment, things that we don't need, things that we don't uh, want in our environment, just clean it up. Some more cleaner spaces, the more clear mind. There's actually some interesting data behind that as well. But also that goes beyond our things that we carry. But if we shift our attitude, our mindset in terms of like what we think and our emotional state, that's foundation as well. And these are just some tiny things. Like I think so many of us, man, we focus on perfection instead of progress. But if we just make the small shifts every single day, that's what leads to the big success. It's the small wins that you focus on, those small daily disciplines that you work on every single day. And if you stay focused on the small things, those big things are eventually going to come because, the universe, in a sense, is looking at you, say, hey, this person is serious. Like they're actually want to do good in the world. They're connected to their heart. They're connected to what is real. And, life supports that, which supports life.
Mr. Anthony, mindset for success. How do high achievers use mindset differently than average performers?
Yeah, I mean, because there's levels to this, right? So the highest performers, and then people, I guess NPCs or nine-player characters, but basically the average person, which most people, if you actually think about it, who are high performers, were average at some point. So also, I think it's important to help as many people as you possibly can in that process, like I said, being the light. But as you mentioned, mindset. So high performers, they are very intentional and deliberate about their day. They have habits. They optimize everything. They have a morning routine. They have a night routine. They have rituals throughout the day, right? They have certain ways they do things, certain operating procedures, certain principles they go and do. And the thing about the average person, or people who are not necessarily performers in a sense, but they're just kind of going about the day. I mean, I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with that, but again, going back to what we were talking about before, is that what you're meant for? I believe you're meant for greatness. Everyone, we all have greatness within us. And Einstein, he said, unexamined life is not worth living. So we carry around these habits and we don't really change them. And we're if we just focus on media, we're not really reading anything empowering. We're not listening to anything empowering. We're instead of utilizing social media for educating and empowerment, we're just looking at it and scrolling, right? While someone with a high performance mindset, they would be on social media adding as much value as they possibly can. They're not following anybody who's making them feel insecure or anything like that. They're following people actually about that life in terms of education, personal development, and mindset. And you, to be honest, they're probably not watching a whole lot of TV, if at all. But just be careful of what you watch, what you listen to, because again, when it comes to health, of course, you want to focus on real food. But what are you feeding your mind on a daily basis? Because your inputs are going to create your outputs.
Mr. Anthony, how do some people with a success mindset still teach their kids growth mindset without pressuring them? Yes,
Yeah,
pressuring them.
yeah, great question. It's so important, man. It all starts with our kids. Like educating our kids to be empowering individuals is so key. And I mentioned before, you have to be the living, walking representation of it. If you don't do that, it's not going to happen. You have to walk this, you have to live this, and you have to believe this in yourself every single day. And I don't believe in forcing things on people because I hear a lot of times, man, we have these things that we teach kids, but we don't do it in a way that they understand. So they leave mom and dad, but then they're no longer doing these things. We have people who grew up with super healthy parents, but as soon as they leave, their habits are completely out the window. And I know people who have done that, and they're in the health and wellness industry because of that, but they overcome a chronic illness that was unnecessary. So the way to do that, you actually instill habits in people is you actually have to link it to a life that they actually want to lead, like the principles, the habits, the standards, all these things, and make them understand the outcome. Like, what is the outcome of doing these things? And when you have a kid, for example, like I wouldn't like say not to eat frosted flakes. I would educate them on the thing. And if they go to a birthday party, for example, and they have some cake, I'm not gonna like don't say that you can't do this, you can't do that, because that's actually a psychological thing, and they're going to actually want it more. But if they experiment with it and they feel sick, now they have that firsthand experience of it, right? So it's basically live and learn type of thing. But of course, there's other things that you want to be more forceful on. But of course, like the point here is to instill values that they actually value, like have it intrinsic. Because if you're forcing things, it's going to be extrinsic and it won't last. You want to have habits that will create a lifetime of success.
What is the mindset shift you made that dramatically improved your life, Mr. Anthony?
Me personally, man, I have to say yes, awareness, but the awareness of understanding there's always a way forward, as I mentioned so many times. Like when I say that, because we have these big goals in our life, but we give up so soon. We don't understand that by overcoming this, you become someone in that process. Because success is something you attract by the person that you become. It's all about the values that you hold, the standards that you carry. And because you fail, doesn't make you a failure, right? And the most important thing is that you have to carry that level of confidence because energy that bring to the world is the energy you're going to get back. That's a big thing for me because I used to beat myself up a lot, man. Like when I failed, I would take it personally. But
And Mr. Anthony Guastella is being disconnected, and we are closing to this as we inviting you to please do support him and follow him on his journey. And people, thank you so much for tuning in, watching, or please to listen Abstract Essay wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Anthony, thank you so much for your time. More to come, people. See you soon.